My thanks also to the Embassy of Ukraine in the United Kingdom for letting us come here to the embassy for this event this evening. I'm really looking forward to this, to getting to know Oksana Lyniv, who, as Alessia said, probably needs no introduction, but nevertheless, let me say a few words before we get into conversation. Oksana really is a rising star in the classical music firmament. She's a successful conductor, she's a Ukrainian and a woman conductor, and that takes some doing. She was born in Brody in western Ukraine, studied in Lviv at the Lysenko Music Academy, and then has worked as a conductor first of all at the Lviv Opera House, then the Odessa National Opera from 2008 to 2013, and then moved to Germany to the Bavarian State Opera, where she worked from 2013 to 2017 as musical assistant to the general music director Kirill Petrenko, who has now moved to be the chief conductor of the Berlin Philharmonic. Then Oksana went to Austria, where she was the first female principal conductor of both the Graz Opera and the Graz Philharmonic Orchestra from 2017 to 2020. And she has been a guest conductor with numerous leading orchestras and opera houses in Europe and indeed in Japan. And she's in London at the moment because she's a guest conductor at the Royal Opera House at a series of productions of Tosca by Puccini. During this year, 2021, Oksana became the first woman to conduct at the Bayreuth Festival in Germany. She was also the first woman to conduct the Orchestra de la Suisse Romande in Geneva at a UN anniversary concert. And then next year, she's going to continue blazing the trail and will become the first female chief conductor at an Italian opera house as general music director of the Teatro Comunale di Bologna. Wonderful opportunity. And that's not all she's done. She's been busy enough conducting, but she's found the time to found two important artistic ventures in Ukraine. She's founder and artistic director of Lviv Mozart International Music Festival for the last 5 years, and over the same period she is also founder and conductor and artistic director of the Youth Symphony Orchestra of Ukraine. So I'm looking forward to learning more, asking more about these ventures. Oksana, you're very welcome here in London here tonight. We're going to talk for about half an hour and then we'll open it up so that you can ask Oksana your questions. Can I sort of go back to the beginning to start and ask about your family and your early life, and when did you discover that you wanted to be a musician, that you had an interest in music?
So hello everyone, I'm very happy that you are here. I was born in musicians family, so the music was around me from my birth, and of course from my childhood, I think from 2 years old, I knew already I would like to become also a musician, but I don't know what I have to decide to be as my father to conduct, for example, choir, or as my mother to play piano and to be a teacher in music school. And so I thought in every very early life that is some difference between teaching, pedagogic, to bring somebody to the music, to learn somebody, and to perform. I think that was very interesting for me to check this in. I think I was in children garden, so I was maybe like 4 years old, and After, of course, I studied music. I went to the music school earlier than I went to normal school. So with 5 years I was already studying piano and as a musical subject. And later, of course, I wanted also to go to the music college and after in the music academy. But between music college and music academy, I had to decide really which profession, which musical profession it should be. So to that point, I was already teacher in music school for 4 years. There is one very famous boys choir, male choir in Lviv, named Dudarek, and I was already working there for 4 years. I had a big class, 9 or 10 pupil, and I studied blockflöte and solfeggio and singing and conducting, and so it was the opportunity for me to stay there also. But in our music college we had already also conducting with student orchestra, and it was very interesting experience for us, because as a student you has also conduct your friends, your also students who are playing in the orchestra, and in that point it was a small difference that somebody was staying before the orchestra and could not lead really, so has not this authority, and it was not so easy with everybody to play. So it was also interesting decision for me that time. And after my first concert with this student orchestra, I was asked from audience, also from some professors, would you think about conducting as your profession? And it was very a surprising moment for me, because I thought that it, like in Soviet army, you know, only young boys can go and study this profession, because I didn't know to that time any woman conductor. And after I heard, yes, you can, but so it's possible, but women are not interested. And so I went to the music academy and did some conducting hours, and yes, so I started my education, and from the first year it was absolutely for me amazing how complicated this profession is. You have to know, as an orchestra conductor and opera symphony conductor, you have to know about all details, how to work with choir, how to work with every section, different section in the symphonic orchestra, how to work with solist, how to work with director, with costume, with lights. So you have to you know, you have to have dramatic sense, also for literature, also for poetry, also is very, very important. So it was, I think it was big for me, the big moment that I had realized that this is really the job for my life.
So at quite an early age, you realized that you wanted to be a performer,
yes,
not a teacher,
yes,
and you realized that you wanted to be a conductor.
Yes.
But have you been able to carry on playing and singing, playing instruments and singing as well?
Yes, of course. So all this time I was also playing piano and also sopilka. This is woodwind instrument from typical Ukrainian instrument. And also I was very many years singing in the choir, and I love singing in choir. So maybe about so around 8 years I was singer in professional chamber choir of Lviv. So it's, for me, it's also very, very important to know how, you know, how breathe, to know how you feel when you are on stage, and this helps a lot also for me in my professional. For example, now when I'm in Covent Garden, but I have conducted 3 performances Tosca in in every other performance I had new tenor, for example. So on Saturday our tenor was arriving from Italy, and I had only a short rehearsal, half an hour before we start performance. So you can really accompany, and you can, you need your intuition, because you had not enough time to prepare also. It's very important. And this was his words, that this is amazing to work with you. Why? You have feeling how the breathe, singer breathe is how to breathe, and this is very important.
Yeah, well, you hope the tenor can do his job.
Yes, but this is very important. Yes.
That's great. Now, you mentioned that when you realised you'd like to be a conductor, you looked around and you saw there were very few women conductors. Now, why is that? You must have thought about this quite a lot. Why are women conductors so rare, so unusual?
Yes, so the conductor profession is very young profession. For example, to compare to violinists, yes, when professional violins are around 400 years old profession, and conductor is only 100 years old profession. And it started with development of classical music, because to Mozart time nobody was conductor, and orchestra doesn't needed any conductor, because the music was very simple, and also principal violinists can show the tempo and it works. But with romantic style, with the symphonic development, music becomes more and more complicated. So, and orchestra also grow up. So all musicians, for example, for Richard Strauss music, you need about 100 musicians. So this is like 110 people in the orchestra, and they need to know how to rehearse, how to start, and how to do music. So they need music director, and it's become later. And when you observe the woman position in the social life generally, 19th century, 20th century, it was just, German, Küche, Kirche, Kinder, so nothing more. Also in as composer, also as artist, the same. And it was hard time, and so it's needed really time and change in our also social life structure.
Okay, so you think it's really a reflection of
yes.
wider society. I mean, you said woman's role was seen as kitchen, church, children yes. in English. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but we've got very used to having a lot of women playing instruments in orchestra, and obviously singing as well, but it's relatively new to have women conductors.
No, also with women with playing instruments in the orchestra also started very late, because, for example, Leipzig, Gewandhaus Leipzig, until 1989 was no one woman in the orchestra.
Yeah, I think there was a famous case with the Berlin Philharmonic, wasn't there?
Yes.
About 40 years ago.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
You have a lot of experience of conducting orchestras, but also operas. Do you have a preference? Do you prefer to be in the opera house, or do you prefer just to be with a symphony orchestra?
Yes, now, for example, when I have to be in London for 5 weeks, it's very long time. And yes, I think I am always thinking, so I would, in that time, I would prepare, I don't know, 5 symphony programs, and it's need shorter time, of course. But in opera, you have to love opera to conduct this. There are many conductors who are conducting only symphonic repertoire, and because they have no sense for this opera, because in the opera you are not the number one. Of course you are number one, and you have responsibility for whole evening, but
you're hidden, you're down in the pit.
Yes, you have do this in the pit. Yes, you are hidden, and also you have to to find the balance to work in combination with all the things what I said. You have solist, you have director, you have light, you have orchestra, you have choir behind the scene, you have additional conductor. For example, in Tosca I am working with 3 more conductors because they are working behind the stage and they are looking to me. I am conducting in the camera and to monitor, they have to look to monitor and it has to be synchronized. So you know, all these things you have not in symphonic program. In symphonic program you are just chef, you know, you are coming, so hello, and you have 5 days, same orchestra. This is also at the point because when you conduct opera, usually in orchestra musician can change. You know, today in rehearsal one set musician and tomorrow in performance I don't know, 20% new people. And this will not happen in symphonic repertoire. So when you are rehearsing for 5 days, you can come to the concert and you can say, really, my musicians are very well prepared, so I can really just stay and enjoy. In the opera, you have always work and you have always be very careful because, you know, they on the stage they are kissing each other and he forgot that he has to look to me and I had to give you know,
all the time you've got to be ready for the unexpected.
Yes, and I have to look to the orchestra what is happening and also always to the stage what is
But it sounds from what you're saying you really enjoy working in the opera house and bringing together all these different elements.
I would say so. To conduct opera is always more adventure than to conduct symphonic repertoire.
Tell me about the things that you've established in Ukraine, the Lviv Mozart International Festival. How often does that get together? What do you do with that festival?
I was very excited to discover that Lviv, so West Ukraine and especially Lviv, city of Lviv, has a directly connection to Mozart family. When I learned about this, I was so surprised because for me, you know, when you are in a music academy in Lviv and you are learning from all music books and encyclopedia and literature, you are learning, yes, Mozart, the greatest famous composer, Austrian composer, he was lived in Salzburg, etc., etc. And in one moment I am realizing his son was on the same street and in the same church, in the same concert hall, doing concert, conducting as me now. You know, it was like a shock for me because I never heard this before.
But and this was Wolfgang Amadeus?
No, Mozart's son, Frank Sauer Mozart. So, and after I also realized that this information was also hidden in Soviet Union because you know it was the too directly connection to West European music. You know, in Soviet time we had to learn that culture started with Aurora, with in St. Petersburg or Boris Godunov or something, but no connection, no West European school in Ukraine. You know, and it was really very interesting facts for me. And also I realized I started to look for some information for literature, but information was very small. And in most books which I can get in Germany, it was like, yes, Mozart's son was in Galician in our region for 30 years, but we have no information because we have no connection to Ukraine now, and this was not discovered, and it was my decision to do something with this. And so I in first time I went to Salzburg 2015 to Mozarteum, to president of Mozarteum, and I said, so hello, I am conductor. In that time I was already in Munich as conductor in Bavarian State Opera and musical assistant of Kirill Petrenko, and I said I am from Lviv and I would like to start a new initiative to initiate new Lviv Mozart Festival as a bridge, as a connection to big musical classical tradition. And so we started from 2017, and this is very interesting festival. It took place every year. And now we are also the members of big European associations. This is European Mozart Base Association. There are only countries who has directly historical connection to Mozart family. So not after, but really directly their Mozart family was lived or works. Yes, and this is the idea of festival.
And during the festival, is it in the summer? Is that when you do it?
In the end of summer, yes, in August, or maybe on the beginning of September, for example. It also a little bit depends of my calendar, of course. Yeah. And for example, when last year I was in Bayreuth 3 months, so and also next year we will play from 30 of August until 3rd of September, so 6 days festival.
That must have been quite a contrast going from Wagner in Bayreuth to Mozart in Lviv.
Yes, but now when I'm discovering biography by Franz Xaver Mozart, we also find very, very interesting facts. For example, 3 days ago, we find with my colleagues the brief written by Robert Schumann to Lviv to Julia von Cavalcabo. She was the daughter of Josephine of Cavalcabo, the woman with Franz Xaver Mozart had a relationship and was fall in love for whole his life. And this is very interesting because this connection to Schubert, to Schumann, now we have directly through Franz Xaver Mozart, and this is really very interesting. Now I am looking forward because it will be first book published by famous edition in Lviv. I am editor for this book, and we translated in Ukrainian more than 100 original letters by Franz Xaver Mozart, and also his diary. And this is very interesting because it will be first opportunity for Ukrainian people to really to discover this very, very interesting story from 19th century.
And during the festival, do you organize concerts, opera performances?
Yes, yes, concerts, opera performances, also programs for children is very important for us.
And is it performers from Ukraine?
Not Lviv? Only, from around the world. Yeah. We have around, in every festival, we have around 600 different artists, musicians from all the world. And also, I can really say that all artists or singers who was performing in Lviv Mozart would like to come more and are writing me, please, you have to invite us because we never was before in Ukraine, and this is fantastic experience.
Great. And tell me about your other creation, the National Youth Symphony Orchestra of Ukraine. Does that get together only in Lviv or in other parts of Ukraine as well?
No, this is a national project. So the participants are from whole Ukraine. They are between 14 and 22 years old. And these most talented musicians of Ukraine, and really from very, very different parts of Ukraine. This is very nice because, before 8 years, as we had this all war and Crimea annexion and all these problems also with our president, with direction of development of Ukraine, it was really fantastic to bring young generation together from west and from east part. And we are performing also around in Ukraine, but also abroad. We are very, very successful. So from 2017 we played by Beethoven Festival Bonn in Berlin, Young Euroclassic Berlin. Our concert was also by Arte Television, and this year we got gold medal, so gold prize on International Orchestras Festival in Austria. And last month we had Mozart prize also from Sächsische Mozart Festival and from this organization European Mozart Ways. So this is very nice opportunity for us, because always we are performing not only the classical music by classical composers, but also unknown music by Ukrainian composer. And this is very interesting, because we are bringing works by Letoshinsky, by Hubarenko, young composers also, Sehin, Zoltan Almashi, also Ukrainian solists.
Well, I wanted to ask you about Ukrainian music, and maybe I'll make this my last question, then we'll open up to the audience. But some people would say that music is universal, it's a universal language. Others would say no, it's very local, it comes from local culture. And there are different musical traditions from different regions, different countries. Where do you see Ukrainian music fitting in to these world musical traditions?
So we have also very great Ukrainian composers, especially the composers from 20th century. And they are not very well known, because it depends also of political situation of Ukraine. And only now is for us the time the opportunity to discover, to open this also to the world. We have to work a lot, because you know, for example, Russian composer, the Russian culture was always pushed from Russia. Was always invested with big money just also to bring the Russian culture, and the opposite is for Ukraine. And this is why I am very happy that such an organization as Ukrainian Institute, not in London but Ukrainian Institute in Kiev, now started and works very successful for 3 years, and they are organizing a very interesting year of Ukrainian culture. For example, for 2 years it was the year of Ukrainian culture in Austria, for example, and they organized like I don't know, like 200 events, different events during the whole year, and this is very interesting to show our country through the culture.
As I think you know, we're fortunate in Britain to have another Ukrainian conductor, Kirill Karabits, who's working with the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra.
Yes.
And Olesya Khramechuk and I had the pleasure last summer of going to a prom performance where he was conducting the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, and he played as an encore, Lysenko.
Yes.
Lysenko Taras Bulba.
I know, yes.
And then this was broadcast on the BBC again on the 24th of August.
Yes, very good.
A very nice coincidence, which was the day of Ukraine's independence.
Yes, but this is very nice example how one person can change a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Let's give the audience a chance to ask you some questions. Yes, I see a lady in the middle there. Please would you just tell us your name and ask your question?
It's Eugenia Webster. Thank you, Oksana, for the presentation, and congratulations on your enormous achievements. I am as Ukrainian. Well, you make me very proud for my country.
Thank you.
And the question is, do you feel different being one of only few people in this area? And which female qualities actually help you and maybe even give you an advantage over the male?
Yes, most difficult you feel on the beginning, but for every conductor, also for male conductor, the most difficult is the beginning, to start in the professional career. So now the time changes, and this is very interesting that now all good orchestra are looking for women conductors, and how music manager said yes, but it's a pity because there is no enough women conductor, because now really, for example, in Germany, when we have this point that orchestra are the orchestra published their program for next year, journalists are waiting and write like, yes, München Philharmonic are very progressive orchestra because they have 3 times women conductor, but Bayerische Rundfunk not only 1 time, you know. This is like now is other way. So now young women have much more opportunities to start much earlier. In my time, it was more difficult because you have much more skepsis around you, and not somebody who is supporting you, but you have to hear for what you would like to learn this profession. You will never be successful, and you will never get the same opportunities as a man, and so something like this. So you have to be strong, just don't hear, just to hear to your heart and believe. And I had one point which makes me stronger, that I never hear it something like this from musician from orchestra, and it was one point that makes me optimistic, because I thought when somebody from orchestra would say me, you know, you have no perspectives, yes, maybe I will have doubts, but no. This mostly it was colleagues conductor.
Let's have another question. Yes.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to stand? Or?
Yes, please do.
Oh, right. Okay, my name is Roman Ryshkovich, or Ryshkovich. I guess I'm a British Ukrainian. Can I first of all say how excited we all were when we heard you were coming, and so really warm welcome from everybody and all my friends, and no doubt every Ukrainian. Oh, sorry, in every Ukraine. I wanted to ask you about how important audiences are, and if you, now that you have appeared at the Royal Opera House, how different are the audiences here in London, say, compared to Kiev, and which do you prefer? And could I just pick up on a point that we talked about earlier? The one thing, when I think about Ukraine, I always think about its very deep and rich culture, and it's the one thing that seems to survive, whatever happens. What do you think the rest of the world has to gain from our own experiences as Ukrainians, as from our sort of culture, our songs, our music, and just the way we are?
Thank you very much. So about audience, yes, audience is important for all musicians, but I can say I had interesting experience. For example, in lockdown time, we had a lot of concerts completely without audience, just streaming, and for me it was also interesting experience, because when I'm conducting, I don't think about is somebody hearing or not. I have so deep connection to the music and to sound and to my musician and to composer that I doesn't care about audience, and it was very interesting experience for me. But I know that for singers, for example, it must be very hard to look to the empty hall, because now a conductor is staying with the back, you know? So I look anywhere, I look to the orchestra. But it was not the answer. Of course, the public performance have completely other energy for me too, and I can, when I compare the audience in Ukraine or in London, no, I cannot say that I can observe big difference, because we had a great reception. Yes, thank you. We had great reception, and with very passionate, with with bravo bees and all these things. So I hear it that English public is more quite like other temperament, you know.
But it's not your experience.
No, not in Covent Garden, no. Thank you very much. And yes, and about Ukrainian culture, I think that the thing will not change from 1 year to next year. You know, we have to do this slow, and many more different personalities in different fields. And I think in 50 years or in 20 years, it will look completely different than before.
Let's have another question. Yes, gentleman in the middle there.
Hello, my name is Jaroslav, and I'd like to use this opportunity to pass you warmest greetings from my grandmother, who lives in Alaska.
Oh,
Considers you,
yes.
kind of from the next town,
Yes.
and this makes her very proud. This makes me proud as well to be also partly from that region. And so I have two questions. One is, could you factor out a single piece of music that would characterize Ukrainian mentality, culture, the Ukrainian being as such? And so as I can give it to my friends here and say, look, this is Ukraine. Listen to it, maybe you understand me better. And the other question is, you went to Broadway and organized this nice event remembering
Joseph Roth.
the Jewish heritage also of the region. And I know about it because in Alaska there is a forgotten synagogue as well, that used to be a furniture shop during Soviet times, and now it's a ruin. I was wondering whether you're planning to take that to different locations in the region, to some castles, to the Alaska Castle or Vidhirtsi, or maybe somewhere else.
Yes. This is very interesting. This is also my idea for the festival, because we have a lot of international guests to bring people to discover also Ukrainian history. And one idea was to play a symphonic concert near the ruin of Brody Synagogue. It will also repeat it. So now we are planning to repeat this concert for the 1st of September 2022, because now it's really starts the initiative to fundraising to rebuild this ruin, to rebuild the synagogue, and to develop as an art center, as a space for exhibitions, for concerts, and so on. And yes, in my plans are also Olesko Castle or Vidhirtsi Castle, but all these events need big money and big cost and big time for organization. So I will look when it's possible also for me.
And the first question was, do you think there is one piece of music which is typically Ukraine?
As symphonic, so maybe Taras Bulba Overture, and as chamber music, Skorek Melodia. I think this is most famous Ukrainian piece.
Great. Right at the back, please, gentlemen.
Скажіть, що ви думаєте про пам'ятник Моцарту у Львові?
So it was the question. Yes. The question was about Mozart sculpture. Yes. So this is most famous sculpture in Ukraine now, I can really say. It was very interesting project, also risk to bring first modern sculpture monument to Ukraine, because in Ukraine is until now is big tradition for the Soviet type of monuments, so really big and with quote we say quote monuments. When you see to Stepan Bandera, very important national figure for Ukraine, it looks really similar as Lenin, only the face is other. And of course this is as we said, as we thought about idea to do a new Mozart sculpture in Lviv, and to put something in the town which will be for symbol for classical music. It was very nice idea to work with no Ukrainian sculpture, also because Mozart is German Austrian composer, and also we invited also one German Austria sculptor. He was studied in Vienna Artistic Academy by very famous Alfred Hirlichka. And Alfred Hirlichka was the artist who discovered new psychological, how can I say, where the psychology changed the form of sculpture. So don't show the form, the body, but to show the drama of so personal emotions of drama, but in the form of sculpture. And it was very interesting idea from Sebastian Schweikert to bring both together, to bring father and to bring the son, because Franz Xaver Mozart was born, and after he was only 4 months old, really baby, and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was died. And his whole life he was very suffering for this, that he never know his father, and he has no possibility to study by him. And Constantia Mozart from his childhood was perfect manager, and she said, you will be the next Mozart, your father has died, so you will be the next Mozart. And so he was in every concert hall, he was his name was written Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart young or son, for example, but never Franz Xaver Mozart, even though on his Moheli.
In his grave.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, and it was big drama, and it was the idea which Sebastian Schweikert showed in his sculpture, and of course it was from the beginning was big discussion. No, we don't like this Mozart, this is as a monster, we don't understand, he was not looking like this, and his music is so nice and so harmonic, why you show us this fighting, and it was very interesting, because before 2 weeks we had a big discussion, and City Council has to decide to demontage, to remove this, replace in some like modern jewelry place, or to leave this in the city. It was very interesting discussion, and so so we had one petition with 500 voices in 2 months to remove this. But after we had second petition in 11 hours with quite 1,000 voices to leave this in the place. It was very interesting, because many people comes together to speak that now we need some change also. This is not possible to hold the city as a museum and to be always afraid by some new stylistic, some change.
So the statue is still there?
Yes.
So now, provoked a discussion.
It provoked a discussion, and I also know, for example, this week in Artistic Academy of Lemberg, Vlad Troitsky, this is famous director, will start new discussion workshop with his students. Or now sometimes in Facebook I can find some snowman as a Mozart, so it gets really becomes folklore now, this story, and this is very nice.
Great. Let's have another question. At the back there, please. Gentleman at the back.
Andrei Maximovich, first of all, thank you very much for a chance to talk to you live. It's a great opportunity. I had the pleasure to attend your performance at Sokil Alkit premiere in September in Lviv, which I found great, especially the Alkit part. 2 questions from my side. When you first went abroad to Germany, what was it for you? Was it just one of the kind of opening for the world to yourself, or was it sort of a planned stage of your career? First, and second one, what would be your advice to aspiring musicians, young musicians from Ukraine, besides the initiatives that you have mentioned, how they can develop and maybe make themselves known nationally and internationally?
Thank you very much. So my first trip abroad was 2004. I had the invitation from Gustav Mahler conductor competition to Bamberg, and it was really a trip to, I don't know, to other planet. You know, it was such a difference, such a big difference. You know, to that time, I have finished my education, a student, and we had so small scholarship, so no opportunities for development, for study. And when I compare it to the same students from France, from Italy, from Canada, Greece, other participants, it was really such a drama for me also that I get third prize in that competition, but I was crying after this, and the jury, the members of jury spoke to me, what has happened, you are finalist, you have to be happy. And I said yes, because tomorrow I will come back in completely darkness. You know, this is empty in Ukraine. When you have no connections, when your parents are not rich, or you know, you have no opportunities, you have no chance. And they said to me, okay, now we understand, and we will work for you that you can get a new scholarship to come back and to be an assistant to make the hospitals by chef conductor of Bamberger Symphonica. And so in few months I came back, and after I also started new education by German Musical Academy in Dresden, Karl Maria von Weber, for 4 years more. And it was very big chance for me. Without this education in Germany, second education, I would never have this success which I have now.
So the Gustav Mahler competition was a really important break for you.
Yes,
yeah.
And so all important things which I would like to say for young musicians. So please stay. So please hope. Please keep your development every day, and you have to believe in your idea of what you need for your life yourself at first, and after you have to look for the different opportunities around you. And sometimes this is not you know, this is not open before your eyes, you know. Sometimes you have to ask somebody, and just don't give up, you know. This was my solution, how I reach, how I get this, what I have now.
Yeah. Marina.
My name is Marina Bizanti. You mentioned, it was mentioned in your biography that you were the conductor of the Odessa Opera House, I think, for 5 years.
Yes.
And I've just learned that at the time the director of Odessa Opera was Serhiy Proskurnia, right? Ukrainian.
Only 1 year, yes.
1 year. It would be interesting if you could reflect on your time at Odessa and maybe compare the different traditions of opera, you know, the conducting and musical styles. If you think, also there's been lots of controversy around Odessa Opera House in those years and now. You know, what was your time in Odessa like? And kind of more broadly to talk about what's happening to the development of opera and symphonic music in Ukraine. Like you now launched this festival in Lviv. How is it supported? Do you think there's enough of development happening? What's happening in other opera houses and philharmonics?
Yes, Thank you very much. So Odessa is very important city with a big music tradition. So for example, David Oistrakh is also coming from Odessa, and a lot of especially famous violinists from 20th century. And I'm very happy and very proud that, for example, the next European concert of Berliner Philharmonica, which will take place on 1st of May, will be in Odessa, in also Odessa National Opera House. We are working for this now. So for me, those years, they are very important, because it was my start as opera conductor, and I was very productive because I have conducted in these 5 seasons around 20 different opera and ballets, whole classical repertoire. All what I can learn, I learned every month new opera, new ballet. So it was my first experience also with classical ballet, for example, Nussknacker or Don Quixote, for example, or also all Verdi, like Rigoletto, Traviata, Carmen, so all famous opera stuff what you need. And also my first experience with Tosca was also in Odessa. It was very nice, and for me now very helpful, very important. So the big difference between, for example, Ukrainian opera houses and West European opera houses is that here is useful to invite very many guests. Yes, so the Covent Garden, London, or for example Bavarian State Opera House has very few singers in ensemble, maybe like 15 or 20. In Odessa or in Kiev National Opera House, this is about 50 or 70, like this, soloists. So they are the cast is not with guests, but with own singers. Is often or only so in this way. So it was interesting because, for example, when I was conducting Traviata, I have 5 different violettas in every month, different solists, but all was from casts.
Is that just a question of money? That there's money available to bring in guests?
No,
or is it an
this is tradition.
choice?
Artistic choice and tradition, that the artists are not traveling but are living all in the same city, are working in the same theater for 20, 30 years. This is form in Ukraine. All opera theaters have this tradition, so I don't know what is the difference. Maybe more classical repertoire and also more classical production. But now, for example, opera in Lviv is famous that they are trying to renew their repertoire and especially staging. They are inviting new directors also from Germany or from Italy to bring more also modern theater in staging, also for classical music, for classical works.
Yes, I can testify to that. A few years ago I was in Lviv and went to a production of Don Giovanni.
Okay, yes.
Which was quite modern and
yes.
Quite unexpected.
With red telephone boxes as in London. Yes, yes.
Fun.
At the back there's a gentleman. Yes.
Hi, my name is Leo. First of all, thank you for the great speech, and thank you for what you did to the Ukrainian culture, because you moved it on, you pushed it forward, so all credits to you for that. And my question is, will you ever consider conducting orchestras which play modern hits, like hits of electronic music? Because there are quite some today. For example, the Heritage Orchestra in London, or the Symphony of Unity in Belgium that plays on the large electronic music festivals such as Tomorrowland, because there is such a great connection in those hits for the publicity, for especially young persons,
yes,
to classical music, and at the same time when they hear it, and they hear this world-known hits played in the new manner. So what's your opinion on that? And how do you see yourself in the future? That's the second question. Thank you.
So I think in the future will be also the same balance for really very classical and also mix like you said. And also in my experience I did few times, especially with Youth Orchestra of Ukraine, we had few projects also with rock stars of Ukraine or with popular pop music stars, especially for the concert for 30 anniversary now in 2021 and University of Ukraine, and it was funny. Yes, it was funny experience for us. It's very easy or very simple to play with rock music because you cannot compare this with even with smallest symphony by Mozart. You know, so for us we need not rehearse. We can play this
four chords.
Yes, yes. So, but it's how you said. It's funny, and it's funny to reach also new public, maybe also young generation, and especially, for example, now in this fighting for the Mozart sculpture in Lviv, we had a lot of fans of sculpture, and among of these fans was also one frontman of heavy rock metal group, together with Katharina Wagner, of head of Wagner Bayreuther Festspiele, and it was a really funny moment how different personalities was united for to fight for the modern art in the city. So yes, for me I would not, so I can do this very seldom, so like I don't know, one in 3 years it's enough for me, one such a project, but of course this is not the passion of classical musician.
What about the second question? How do you see your own future? Where do you see yourself going in the future?
Oh, I don't know. This is this is you know, I never do fixed plans, because this is very exciting to see how things are developing from themselves. Of course, you know, when I started in Ukraine, in very small city, Brody is only 35,000 people, very small town without any orchestra or opera house. In that time, it was not possible to imagine that I will conduct in Covent Garden or Bayreuth, you know. And I think also now I cannot imagine what I will do in 10 years. I can only say that I have a lot of requests from different top orchestra and opera theater, and contracts are planned until 25, like this, and you know, with every year is coming something new, interesting and new. So I think the most important for me now is to keep the balance between work and rest. This is most important, because it's coming more and more, and you need to really to decide what to set clear preferences, and also of course to plan the rest periods. This is most important, because you need to renew the power, the energy, of course, yeah. Yes.
So you're about to start.
I am workaholic. This is very dangerous.
You're going to keep it in balance.
This is a problem for me, yes.
You're going to Bologna, I think, for 3 years.
Yes.
Will you have to learn Italian to communicate with the orchestra and the singers? Yeah.
So we are all learning Italian, of course, as a musician you need. And also when you are studying Italian operas too, but you know, to speak language and to communicate is, yes, this is excited.
A couple more questions. Yeah, gentleman in the middle.
Thank you, Oksana, for your comments. My name is Aaron. I'm traveling from Kiev. Your life and your career in music is very inspiring, and it's not by chance that you happen to be a Ukrainian conductor, a woman, and I know another name, Tatiana Kolenichenko, and the orchestra, who is also kind of contributing to feminist style and flavor in music and from Ukraine. In connection with this, congratulations with your recent marriage, that those who love you share this event, and I know how difficult for a professional in any area, especially in music, to combine. So my first question is, how difficult it was for you, and whether it would be difficult further, or there's a balance that you can find there. Another question is that you performed with so many orchestras in so many lands. I recall reading about your performance of Aida in Egypt, or Austria, or Germany, or England, and different orchestras. And I know that it is connected with attitude of a conductor, how you play music. And many conductors would say, it's my Puccini. For example, we attended the recent opera here, Tosca, and we sat in the first row, and it was a unique position, so we could see how you perform, because nobody could, everybody would see your back only, but you did it almost like on a stage. It was so impressive. I envy the musicians who can communicate with you by eyes and by your attitude. My question is whether this attitude, interpretation of music may be passed to musicians, and whether Tosca by Oksana is different than by somebody else, a different conductor. Can you be proud of what you contribute in your interpretation? And the final question...
Thanks, let Oksana answer those questions.
I already forgot to begin. So, about the family, yes, thank you very much. Yes, of course, the personal relationship is very important for how productive we can be on the stage, you know, because this is really interesting. In music, you can only show your real emotions, your real I don't know, soul, your how you are. Yes, because the art on the stage, you have to be naked from inside. Yes, and this is very important that you also can find in the life all these emotions what you have to conduct in the evening, you know. And I can really say it was difficult, for example, for me in some personal crisis times to conduct, to perform music Puccini as Bohème or something with big feelings, and you feel like empty, or you feel like dissonance with your own feeling in that moment. So I can say only that I'm very happy to have the man for my life, and I can also say that this is not easy because you know, conductor is leading person, and very often you hear the question in your couple, who is the chef, but it's very funny because for me it was very important to find somebody who will feel when I am chef and when I'm not, when I like to be really to relax and to not must to do the decision or to be responsible for this or for that. Just now
you were talking about getting the balance between
yes,
work and rest.
Yes, but this is very interesting because this is really intuition moments, because for me, you know, when you have so much stress in your work and I am coming home, I really need to feel a small girl, you know, that somebody is taking care about me, but also to combine all these things. But in next morning I am again fit and I need to do festival and next you know, revolution, and this also the point that nobody is holding me and let me do all my ideas and things. And so I can say that this is all these qualities is very special. So, and I can be really happy that I'm happy now.
But thank you for the question. I think we're going to have to draw it to a close, but that's quite a nice way to do it, because I started by asking Oksana about her early memories when she wanted to be a musician, and we've come back to you now going home from being a busy international conductor and wanting to be a little girl at home. So please, all of you, join me in saying a very big thank you to Oksana.